At first glance, this car looked beyond saving. Twisted metal, shattered glass, rusted panels, and an engine that hadn't turned over in years made it seem like nothing more than scrap. Most people would have walked away without a second thought. But for us, destruction is not the end of the story, it's the beginning. This rebuild wasn't just about fixing a car. It was about restoring purpose, honoring craftsmanship, and proving that with patience, skill, and determination, even the most hopeless machines can be brought back to life. What follows is the full journey of turning total ruin into rolling reality. When the car first arrived at the workshop, it was clear just how severe the damage was. The body showed signs of a major accident combined with years of neglect. The front end was crushed inward, the hood buckled like paper, and the doors barely opened. Rust had eaten away at the rocker panels and wheel arches, leaving jagged edges where solid steel once existed. Inside, the cabin smelled of moisture and decay. The seats were torn, the dashboard cracked, and the wiring harness looked like a nest of brittle, chewed-up plastic. This wasn't a project for the faint of heart. Before a single bolt was turned, we started with a full inspection and documentation process. Every panel, component, and system was photographed and labeled. This step is critical in any full rebuild, especially one this extreme. It allowed us to understand what could be saved, what needed repair, and what had to be replaced entirely. The frame was our biggest concern. If the foundation was compromised beyond repair, the project would stop right there. After careful measurement and alignment checks, we found that while the frame was bent, it was still within reparable limits. The teardown phase was both overwhelming and exciting. The car was stripped down to bare metal. Engine, transmission, suspension, interior, glass, everything came out. Each part was cleaned and evaluated. Some components were too far gone, corroded beyond safe use. Others only needed careful restoration. This stage is where reality sets in. Rebuilding a destroyed car requires hundreds of decisions, each affecting safety, performance, and authenticity. Bodywork was one of the most time-consuming parts of the rebuild. Damaged panels were cut out and replaced with fresh steel. Rust was treated aggressively, not just sanded over, because shortcuts here would doom the project long-term. Using a combination of fabrication tools, we recreated missing sections by hand, shaping metal to match original contours. This is slow, meticulous work that demands experience and patience. Every weld was ground smooth, every panel test-fitted multiple times to ensure proper gaps and alignment. Once the body was structurally sound, attention turned to the frame and suspension. Bent components were straightened or replaced, bushings were renewed, and mounting points were reinforced. Suspension geometry was restored to factory specifications to ensure the car would drive correctly, not just look good. New shocks, springs, and control arms brought back stability and safety. At this stage, the car finally began to resemble a solid machine again rather than a pile of parts. The engine rebuild was a story of its own. Years of sitting had left internal components seized and corroded. The engine was fully disassembled down to the block. Cylinders were inspected, honed, and measured. Worn bearings, pistons, rings, and seals were replaced. The crankshaft was polished, and the cylinder head received a full valve job. Rebuilding an engine like this isn't about guessing, it's about precision. Clearances, torque specs, and timing all had to be exact. The fuel system was completely overhauled. Old fuel had turned to varnish, clogging lines, and injectors. The tank was cleaned and sealed, fuel lines replaced, and the pump rebuilt. The cooling system followed, with a new radiator, hoses, and thermostat to ensure the freshly rebuilt engine wouldn't overheat. Every supporting system matters because one weak link can undo months of work. Electrical restoration was another major challenge. Brittle wires and corroded connectors caused countless potential failures. Instead of patching problems, we chose to restore the wiring properly. Sections of the harness were rebuilt, grounds were cleaned, and modern relays were discreetly added where needed to improve reliability while keeping the original look. When the lights finally turned on without flickering, it felt like a small victory. Inside the cabin, the transformation was just as dramatic. The interior was stripped to bare metal, cleaned, and treated to prevent future rust. Sound deadening was installed to improve comfort. Seats were rebuilt with new foam and upholstery, matching the original style as closely as possible. The dashboard was repaired, cracks filled, and refinished. Gauges were restored and calibrated, ensuring accuracy as well as authenticity. Stepping inside no longer felt like entering a wreck. It felt like entering a car again. Paint was the moment where the rebuild became visible to everyone. After countless hours of body prep, sanding, and priming, the car was ready for color. We chose a finish that respected the car's original identity while giving it a fresh, deep shine. Paint isn't just sprayed on, it's layered, cured, and polished. When the final clear coat was buffed, the reflection told the story better than words ever could. Reassembly is where patience is tested the most. Every bolt, clip, and seal matters. Rushing this stage can ruin the entire project. Panels were installed carefully to avoid scratches. Trim was aligned perfectly, and weather seals were fitted to keep the elements out. The drivetrain went back in smoothly, followed by exhaust, brakes, and wheels. Slowly, piece by piece, the destroyed car became whole again. The first engine start is always a defining moment. After double-checking fluids, connections, and timing, we turned the key. The engine cranked, hesitated, and then came to life. That sound, smooth, steady, alive, made every long night worth it. There were adjustments to make, of course. Rebuilt cars always need fine-tuning, but the heart was beating strong. The test drive revealed what the rebuild had truly achieved. The car tracked straight, brakes felt firm, and the engine pulled cleanly through the gears. No rattles, no warning lights, no strange noises. What once seemed completely destroyed now felt confident and capable on the road. It wasn't just restored, it was reborn. This rebuild was never just about saving a car. It was about proving that destruction doesn't have to be final. With the right skills, tools, and mindset, even the most damaged machines can be given a second life. Every scar repaired, every part restored, carries a lesson in persistence and respect for craftsmanship. In the end, the car stands as a reminder. What looks like the end is often just the beginning. What was once written off as scrap now turns heads, drives strong, and tells a powerful story of restoration. And that is why we rebuild. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it.